Segment 2, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of him. He's responsible. Blame him. Him. He's the culprit. Anyway, Avi Meyers, that's me. And this is the guy on the other side of the camera, Sonny Hersh. And that leads us to the question. Okay, if he's running the camera and the audio and all the rest of it, and he's sitting here, who's running the camera and the audio?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. And you know what? You guys can figure it out yourself.
My clone. My evil twin is behind the camera.
That very well could be. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Larry Sefferden wasn't able to be here today, so we had to arrange our schedule. He hurt his back. We hope he's well and healthy by the time this airs. I hope so, because it's going to be about a month. And Larry's a great guy. And I might vote for him several times for the state's attorney's race. Who knows? But in any event, it's important, for those of you who don't realize, and I think hopefully you watch the show and a bunch of you guys do know, Sonny Hersh is the chairman of the District Advisory Committee as well as producer of the show. He runs Beat 2413. Well, actually, forget about the producing thing. But 2413, and you know what? When it comes to community policing, you get to watch all this stuff. You don't get to say too much. But what would you like to tell people about community policing?
Well, the most important thing is go to the beat meetings, and if you see something, actually the most important thing is calling the police. If you see something going on that shouldn't be going on, call 911. If you feel like your life is threatened, or if you see somebody else being threatened, call 911.
Even if there's a dangerous situation.
Right. It doesn't matter. If something happens after the fact, a window's broken, you find it later, it doesn't matter when it happened. You call 311 and make a report. Or you can go into the station, your local station, and file a report there. But the thing is that you have to get involved, you have to be involved. There's various police cars running around the district. You don't necessarily see them all the time, but they're there. And there's a perception by some people that they never see the police aren't around, but they are around. You just don't see them all the time. There's various units that are covert units, and you're not necessarily going to know that those are police units. But the important thing is being involved, calling the police when something goes on, and that way it gets into the system. We've got crime mapping. They look at the crime mapping. They can see if something happened to you or near you. They can see if a pattern is forming. And they've caught a lot of, there was a rash of burglaries. They've caught them because of the crime mapping. And it's an important thing.
No, definitely. There's no question about it. If the police, one of the things I find when I go to the meetings, somebody will say to me, well, usually outside the meeting, well, did anything ever happen with X, Y, and Z?
Right.
And I'll say, well, did you call the police?
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Well, how are they supposed to know about it?
That's a big problem because people want to know, well, why wasn't it taken care of? And basically because they were the only ones that knew that it happened, and they didn't call the police. They didn't file a report. And the community meetings are very important, too, because it's a forum for passing information back and forth. You have a problem or a concern, you bring it up at a meeting. Generally speaking, by the next meeting, it'll be resolved, and the police officers will be there to talk about it. With the parks, with pretty much anything that's going on.
Yeah, even if somebody talks to me, and there are people, and you get the same kind of calls, too, being a beat chairperson, that if somebody calls me and tells me something, I will do my best to report it as faithfully as I can to the police. But even having been a skilled reporter and editor, of over 10 different papers over the years, I still can't describe things as well as the person who saw them initially.
Right.
And, it's very important that people talk to the police directly. I won't know all the questions the police need to ask. I'm not a trained policeman. Maybe I have some experience with talking to people like that, and maybe I'm not going to mess up as much as I used to in asking those questions. But talking to the police directly is the right way to do things.
There's two other important things, too. If you call and file a report, you want to remain anonymous. You tell the call taker that you want to remain anonymous. The computer screen that they fill out has a check-off box there. They check off anonymous. When they're done talking to you, the information gets sent over to dispatch. They don't have your personal information. Another thing that you can do if you don't mind having your name mention to the police is you tell them that you would like to have it on the computer. You'd like to put it on the computer in the car. They call it a PDT. And that way they do a silent dispatch. They send the information to the computer in the car. They'll call on the radio and say, whatever the beat number is or whatever car they're going to dispatch, check your computer, you've got a call on it.
And that's important because that way if they've got a police radio and they're listening to the calls, that way you can beat it.
Right. Yeah, some people want to be anonymous because they're afraid of some sort of reprisal, but
it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen, no.
I mean, stand up and do what you got to do.
Yeah, it's important. We all have to take care of each other, and that's the way we do it.
And I'm tired of hearing people complain about their neighborhood when they don't take the proper steps when they see something to make it better. At this point, I'm running out of time, so I want to thank very much my guest, Sonny Hersh, Chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District, the civilian chair for Beat 2413, as well as co-producer of this wonderful show. Check us out on the World Wide Web, www.ntnm.org, caps24.org, but call 911 is more important. Sonny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Say goodbye to everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.